Well, thanks to all you that made it out here this morning. Coveted Saturday morning spot. That we're all thrilled to be here. So thank you for coming out. It's I have to say this has been one of my favorite conferences so far. Yeah, it's been a great one. So cheers to Media Post for that. Definitely one of the best. So I do have some fun ones. The colored cards that you see in my hand are some fun kickers for later. But we're gonna make this more conversational. So please ask questions. Raise your hand in the midst of everything. We'll call on you. And we're going to talk a little bit more anecdotally and just have some fun up here. But for starts, I know I told you guys I was going to introduce you, but apparently I had too much fun last night, so I didn't get to write your biographies this morning. So why don't you go real quick down the line, just introduce yourselves and very briefly, because we only have a half hour here, and say maybe what most excites you about AI this year.
Yeah, sounds good. Justin Geiger, CRO, Betsperts Media and Technology Group. What excites me most about AI? I feel like it's a dating show.
Yeah, right?
Hey, how you doing? I think it's just the unknown, right? That you need to be thinking about AI and looking at the things that are in your standard daily workflow and have in the back of your head thinking, how can AI make this better or how can it make it more efficient? So I think it's the unknown.
Yeah, hi. I'm Jody Rones. I am an AI bot. Now, I am a CRO at GAMURS Group. And, you know, I think what excites me most about AI is really the possibilities. I mean, think about what do most of us do in our jobs? We really problem solve. And we have a really, really powerful new tool to help us problem solve problems we haven't been able to use technology for. I don't think we all know exactly which ones it will solve yet, but just the idea of having something out there that may be able to help us in a lot of new ways is really exciting.
Yeah, absolutely. This is an avatar for a 30-year-old by AI. Paul Vizard, 30A Media, and you know, I just look at it like anything. It's a toolkit. So how you use the tools to your advantage and learn how to use them as well, which is pretty important because if you're asking the wrong questions of AI, you're probably going to get an incomplete answer or something you can't use in your business. So thanks. I'm really grateful to be here. By the way, AI could never replace a summit like this.
It's actually funny that you say that too, because I remember when we did a little pre-chat before coming out here. It's like, Jody has joined this conversation. Like, well, I think Jody's already on the call. They're like, no, that's my AI bot. That's going to take notes for me. Actually, speaking of which, though, so on that call that we had leading into this conference, you said you should never want to be part of a business that won't use AI. You want to elaborate a little bit on that?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's true. I mean, it comes from a story we you know, as an editorially led organization, which a lot of people here are part of, there's a lot of concern about AI replacing content creators or look. We're all scared of technology, you know, from the video killed the radio star. We always think the next thing is going to ruin everything before it, but it doesn't usually happen. It usually evolves and it usually builds. But so we had a, you know, editorial team kind of really up in arms, worried about us having conversations around AI. And we had a writer on the team look at me and said, I want you to promise us that we will never use AI as a company. And I said, I think you should want to quit any company that promises you they'll never use AI. I mean, if we're going to be innovative as a company, if we're going to grow and become more and more profitable and more, you know, bigger, you're going to want to embrace all new things and try to use them in the right way. So, you know, one thing if you asked us not to promise we'll never use AI to write content, you know, I'm not even sure at this point we could make a promise for forever. That is definitely not something we plan on doing, but to not use AI in all the other ways that it's available would be to just kind of leave opportunity on the table. And so I really do think that, you know, it's on anybody who's at a company who's not thinking about and exploring ways to use AI to make their business more effective, more efficient, would be at a business they should probably be looking around for, because you got to embrace technology and embrace how it can make you more successful.
Actually, just quick show of hands. I'm curious to see this. How many of you are currently using AI in your jobs today? Oh, so everyone's pretty much messing around with this tech. All right.
All right, we can work at all your companies now.
Yeah, don't tell your bosses. Okay, so here's the thing: is we're not supposed to talk about how we're not supposed to talk about any doomsdaying AI. By the way, on this panel, this is only a positivity AI panel. So with that, let's get into some positive anecdotes, some positive stories. So I'd like to hear more about how y'all are using AI to make some money. So let's start with you. Why don't you tell a great story about how you're utilizing AI?
Yeah, so I signed on with the company at the beginning of 2023, basically setting up an entirely new commercial department. One of the things I realized very quickly was that it's very difficult to reach the buyers and the ad agencies that we need effectively. I got introduced to a product called Winmo. I don't think Dave's here anymore, but he's going to love this. And I was a psychology major coming out of college, and so I know the value of understanding a person's psychological position. And one of the things that really attracted me to Winmo was the fact that they offer you the personality traits of each of the individuals that you're going after. So using that, we plugged that into a model that we trained on all of our audience demographics, all of our unique selling points, and are kicking out email sequences that include emails, phone calls, and things like that we run through HubSpot in order to to craft emails that are going to be more attractive to the audience that we're trying to reach. So if a person has a particular set of personality traits, the AI is then kicking out language that allows them or is more, familiar to them. We've been running this for about 6 weeks now. We've seen our open rates increase, and we actually got our first response and meeting from it yesterday. So it was a great result and good timing for this panel.
See the difference in work ethic between an editor and a salesperson. An editor, you're going to write my stuff with AI, I'm out. Salesperson, you're going to write my stuff with AI, I am in, and please do it all by itself. Again, we're still experimenting. I don't think we've had like these perfect ways that we've solved for using AI, but I do use a note taker that joins me on certain calls, and it's really helpful. You're talking to clients, and you're talking. Zoom's hard. You're on one screen sometimes or two, and you're trying to present or talk about stuff, and you're not hearing everything. So being able to go back, and I think you did this for this call, but being able to re-listen to the call, see the notes, see the summary, and be able to check on what you talked about, super helpful for me. But organizationally, I mean, one of the things we just onboarded was a new DMP, and we have content that goes back 6 years, over 1 million articles across our different sites in the archives, and a lot tagged differently and have evolved how we've tagged stuff, kind of over those years before it was even thought about. And a lot of DMPs needed to use tagging, but this one was able to use AI to comb all the content and kind of build all the keywords and contextual signals. And it's been really helpful because we were able to get it spun up much quicker and really have a great understanding of where we are and what we can offer from a data perspective to our advertisers. So that's been really advantageous as well.
Yeah, so we've been kind of playing with it a little bit. We build apps for streaming TV and fast channels, and we've been kind of playing around with it a little bit on concepts to kind of prove concepts can work for a more efficient programming of the actual apps themselves, and have found in some cases to where if we give it a what if we ask the right questions, and certainly being able to start off from a position of, hey, treat me like I'm an advanced programmer versus just somebody, asking questions about the weather. And it's actually come back to us with some things that we may have missed, or at least something to look at. We sort of looked at it for code as well, give us an example of code, and then that kind of gives us some confirmation if we're on the right track or not. So it's been a bit of a time saver from that point of view, just to say, okay, well, is this really going to work the way we want it to work, and what if we've missed something? So it's been really helpful for that.
So one of you said on our initial call, sorry, I should be talking to this mic here. I hate the sound of my voice on echo, though. So one of you mentioned that you're using AI for tagging. I believe it was you, Jody. Can you elaborate a little bit on that?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's not really for tagging, but it's kind of replaced tagging. So we're able to build contextual signals across our content and the behavioral and be able to store around what people are reading. based on signals that we've gotten through AI, basically creating its own set of tags or understanding of the content. So, as an example, we're talking to Xbox. They want to reach people who are Xbox users. We know there's 25 games that are exclusive to the Xbox console, so that we can see, all right, which are all the games, what articles are talking about those games. People who are reading about those games are either likely an Xbox owner or interested in buying one, and so we can create kind of that Xbox fan or Xbox user segment to offer to Xbox, or for that matter, PlayStation if they want a conquest, or for a new game that wants to reach, is coming out with their Xbox version. So it's been really helpful because it just got, kind of onboarded our data understanding super quickly and really easily, and it really wasn't reliant on, like I said, there might have been a game that was exclusive to Xbox, but if the editor 3 years ago didn't get Xbox, we wouldn't have been able to do that without this system, because it might have been tagged incorrectly. And I think historically in some places I've worked, the tagging of old content is a big hurdle to getting good data out, because that's what it's been reliant on. And editors weren't there to be data scientists. They didn't really understand what they were doing. It was mostly to make sure it was under the right section on the website. And so, it might have had one tag, but it's about 6 different things. And so it's been really helpful in that regard.
So to me, this is the more interesting thing, right? Because everyone, I'm trying to keep this positive. We're not getting into the doomsdaying of AI, but everyone's always freaking out. AI is going to replace my job, or they're freaking out that AI is going to just do something better. It's been in my experience that AI actually can't do these things, right? It's what's the fun thing that everyone loves to say now is AI is not going to take my job, but someone that can use AI is going to take my job. And so I do find these imperfections about AI very interesting. It can help us, but if we rely too much on it, we're gonna almost screw ourselves over. So I guess what this brings to my attention, especially as a manager of people, is how are you guys handling this internally with your company, the people that are concerned? I mean, it's a wonderful tool, and I think that was the most interesting thing, is you like to describe it as a tool. But how are you guys handling the management of people that are, and making sure they're not only relying on it, but using it appropriately?
Yeah.
Do you want to take that one?
I'll start, I guess. From a managing of a team, we are very cautious about who has access to the GPT, and specifically configuring it. So that's just me right now. So it's fascinating. I love to geek out on this kind of stuff. But the other thing that's there is you have to weigh the time, right? So I don't want these guys spending time messing around with the GPT when they should be out there selling. So I like to control it. I also like to control it because it does hallucinate quite a bit. And it can be kind of frustrating to work with sometimes, because you put in a lot of time and then all of a sudden it's not kicking out what you need, and you almost have to start all over again. So for us right now, it is tight control.
I mean, again, not to be gloomy, I think anybody who says AI isn't going to be able to do this thing probably should add the word yet to the end of that statement. I mean, I think it's going to be able to do all sorts of things that we haven't thought of yet, or we don't believe it can do yet. But it doesn't, I don't think, even with all of that said, that it's going to replace people. I think what you need to be saying is, what are the 5 tasks in my day that it can replace? And then can I do 5 new tasks, and can I be an even better performer and a better employee, because I know I'm doing 5 things that took me an hour and 15 minutes, and I have 45 minutes to do things that I never got to. And my boss was always saying, when are you getting to that, or something like that? I think it's really around efficiency. And so everybody should be looking at, how do I make my life, my job, my day more efficient by using AI? And if you kind of keep using AI to be more and more efficient, it's going to take longer and longer for it to catch up to be efficient to do all the things you can do. But if you sit there and say, oh, I can just keep doing this because AI is not going to get there, it will probably get there.
Yeah, we actually tag, if we have any code examples that come back from ChatGPT or wherever, we'll actually flag it and just make sure that, because every real programmer is an artist anyway, so you can actually, if you're looking at code, you can actually see maybe who wrote it. So it's kind of one of those things where we just want to make sure that it's a separation of church and state, if you will, to where, okay, this was provided by AI, so are we using it, in the systems that we're building? So, but it comes back to that tool. It's and learning it. You hit on it, Jody, perfectly. In that learning how to use it is a time-consuming thing. So are you using the time efficiently, and is the result at the end, what you want.
I mean, if anybody who's typing an email, if Google gets the rest of your sentence right, you're not upset that you don't have to type the rest of the sentence out. No one's been like, damn, Google, I wish I could type the rest of my sentence that you actually knew exactly what I was going to say about, and I could just hit tab. So it's really helpful in certain ways, but once it kind of became AI, that was, before people got used to that before they were scared of AI, and so now, but that was AI, right? So I think it's just about getting past that fear and getting into the usefulness of it.
No, that's a fantastic point. I mean, everyone's been freaking about AI over the last year because of ChatGPT. It's finally on our attention, but you've all been using AI for years, and you don't even realize it. So, all right, this is what everyone's really interested in. How's AI going to make you money? So let's go down the line. I know you already shared your Winmo story, but what excites you most for 2024 in AI? How are you deploying it into your business?
I think it's pretty simple for us. It's just about taking a very lean and small sales team, and AI makes it much more powerful. It makes it much larger when reaching out to audiences. So, sales is not a complicated game. It's all about numbers, right? How many people can you reach? And AI and ChatGPT specifically helps us do that.
Yeah, I mean, I think, there's where it's going to help us bring money in the door, which, for us, like the data platform, I think will be a big piece of that. But businesses make money on the bottom line, and often it's easy to bring money in. It's hard to keep costs to be less than that. And I think when you think about efficiencies that AI can provide, I think that's where businesses hopefully can tighten up and become more profitable, more sustainable, because they're able to use these resources for stuff like that.
Yeah, absolutely. Being able to provide other products for your clients, and say, here's a new product that we brought up, so it's going to make your streaming TV channel a bit more engaging and so on, then that's going to be something that has value.
Yeah, so just to add a little bit to this, is like my team, for example, I don't feel like AI is quite in that place where it's adding a lot of revenue. We talked about this on the call. We were like, oh, wouldn't it be amazing if AI finally started setting our floors programmatically every morning? It'd be amazing. It's not there quite yet, but it's about the efficiencies, right? It's about the overhead.
There's a lot of companies that set floors and now added AI to their name that will tell you they're using AI to do that.
Just add a .io to your email address and you're good. So I want to make sure we do have some time for questions in a bit, but we do have some time to keep going here. So I'm a little curious to kind of elaborate off of some of the stuff that we talked about earlier, and I believe it was you, names written on, Justin, that was talking about how you were using it for affiliate work.
From a content perspective, yes. So, in our industry specifically, there was recently some stories about an iconic sports brand that went a little too far in the use of AI without sort of, I guess, providing their audience knowledge that this was AI. And it was, it got a lot of attention, and I think it alienated a lot of their audience, and ultimately was pretty catastrophic for the company. Long way to say, AI and the content it produces is all about, are you still being authentic with your audience? So from our editorial perspective, they do not use it. They want humans to write things. But we do a lot of outreach to new sportsbook or potential new sportsbook users. And that content is pretty standard. So we utilize AI and we A/B test with different inputs into the AI, utilizing a standard set of copy for the affiliate outreach. We're just trying to see, what sort of tasks we can give AI to help that content become more effective in generating new users for sportsbooks. So in that way, we see a role of AI in content. But again, for us, from an editorial perspective, it is a no-go right now.
Yeah, I'll just add, because I think it is interesting how content can use it, because it is one of the places I think the most fear lives. And, as an editor that I had that conversation, you got to have AI in the company somewhere. But we've had the team actually been embracing it since then, I think, as people get more comfortable with it. And so whether it's, kind of doing comparisons of other competitive sites and what content do they have versus ours and where are their holes and what we're covering versus them, using AI to do that, might have been someone, that's a really interesting place. We had a writer the other day say, and it was kind of an affiliate, like, can we do a comment analysis, a sentiment analysis on user reviews on products on different sites and come up and kind of tally that? Like, that's really helpful. We've all wanted to look at the product reviews, but there's 2000, and you're like, what are the top 4, and did that company be able to put the best 4 on top and all that stuff? So if you could go in and really understand what all the different pieces are. And we haven't built that yet, but I thought it was a really interesting, like, and the fact that the editorial team was like, oh, this is something we could then give a synthesis of all this, like, it was really fascinating there, and are embracing it and trying to figure out how to make their content better. Now, they'll still write the article, but they'll have better data to use, and so it'll make their content better, I would think.
Yeah, we've been working recently with what I would call a hyperlocal client, and they've been testing AI for some of their content and asking questions about, what would be a great fishing spot, and describe where that would be and so on. And it's actually come back with some quite detailed answers, and it was quite surprising to them that was kind of content. They obviously have to massage some of it a little bit, but it was quite surprising for them to be that detailed about where you could find a good fishing spot and go boating and so on. That was pretty interesting.
Paul, where are the good fishing spots?
They didn't give the coordinates. What it would be that would have been the awesome GPS part of it.
So naturally, this is an AI panel, so I would be a derelict of my duties if I didn't go to AI to ask the next question. So I did. I said I went to Bard and I said I'm hosting a panel on artificial intelligence for publishers. What's the best question I can ask? And this is what it spat out. And let's go down the line. How can AI help publishers develop new, sustainable, by the way, it bolded sustainable, and I don't know why, but I think that was kind of awesome, revenue streams beyond traditional advertising? Right? I was like, wow, Google.
You didn't want to give this to us before the panel?
No.
This isn't AI. This is Google asking, so they can figure out how to evolve their business.
Exactly. Yeah, off the top of my head, one of the things that I like to do is to subscribe to newsletters, any kind of industry news that is going to help keep me informed on a daily basis. And so there's some good ones out there, and they provide prompts in some of the newsletters. I've seen some that talk about, literally just helping you completely revamp your go-to-market strategy, right? And that's on the list of things that I'd love to see what it says, but haven't gotten there because that list is very, very long. So I think it's about not limiting your inquiries into ChatGPT, or I keep saying that, into AI, to things that you're already doing, right? Figuring out a way to use it to find those things that you're not even thinking about, right? So, like a question like this. I think that's the best answer I could give right now is that we want to make sure we continue to be curious as far as finding a new revenue stream. I'd love them to find me one that's going to make me $10 million, So it's about finding the time to query it and to make sure that whatever's coming out of it is something you can actually take action on.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're all trying to figure out what the new revenue stream is, Google included. We talk a lot about my company about how search and SEO is going to be affected by AI and by Google's AI specifically. There's a lot of unknowns. But one of the big knowns is if all the answers are on Google's homepage, Google's business goes down in a big way. And the one thing we all know about Google is they don't make changes that they say they're going to make until they've figured out their business model, sustainability on the other side of it. So half joking that they want to know the answer to this question too, because I think we're going to need as an industry to kind of understand how these things evolve, and they're going to go together. But I think for us right now, I can't say there's a new revenue stream completely, but I think we're tightening up every revenue stream and every output of everything we do to make our business much more sustainable using AI. And I think that's really the important thing right now is how do we take advantage of what we have and make it more efficient.
Yeah, I think I would sum it down to one word, and automation, perhaps. One of the sponsors and presentations this week was Rizzle, and they're doing a step into, we deal a lot with video, obviously, so they're kind of stepping into that arena of how can you automate video, for example. So, I mean, anything that we can do to kind of forward that and save the time, as long as it is a time saver. We're looking at it from a point of view of tagging videos in a fast channel anyway, and then just deciding to present it to somebody in a peak time that they're watching at. You should be watching this too, perhaps. So there's being able to automate some of the things that take time would be a good way to look at it. It's eventually going to produce some revenue for you.
Yeah, and I did pledge to avoid the negativity of AI for this panel, but yeah, you're right about the whole referral situation and Google figuring out their stuff. But we can say that for another time. But we only have about 5 minutes left, so I wanted to open it up for questions.
Yeah, and since so many of you raised your hands about that you're already using AI, I'd be curious to sort of flip this around and ask if any of you, to answer Garrett's question, have some interesting anecdotes or use cases that you've already found that maybe surprised you. But also any questions.
Joe Mandisi from Media Post. Well, first I'll start with the anecdote. So Media Post editorial team picked OpenAI as our creative agency of the year this year for our Agency of the Year awards. And the first thing we did is we asked ChatGPT to write the profile, and it sucked. So we defaulted to a human being, but we used the graphic. Anyway, that's my anecdote. But my question, more seriously, is you described disclosure. And I think transparency is a hot button. But earlier this year, the ANA did a media buying guidelines update for agencies. Well, no, all agency services update in their contractual agreement. And as part of it, they asked for prior consent for agencies to notify them before they use AI in any form, media buying, creative, audience targeting, which at the time seemed ridiculous to me that you could do that because it's moving so fast. So I want to follow up with them and see what kind of compliance they've gotten. But my question to all of you is, do you think we need to disclose use of AI? And why now? Like, why? I mean, you all point out we've been using algos for a long time. BuzzFeed never disclosed. I mean, Congress has asked them to disclose, Meta and Google and others, to disclose what the algos are, but we never did it before. Why now with generative AI or eventually general AI do we need to disclose when it was an input, a tool? I hope you got that question.
Yeah, well, one of the things I was looking at yesterday was there's actually a standard in place, ICRL. I was reading an article about, here, hang on, I got notes here because I'm old. Mature. So it was, the standard was ICLR, just to make sure. So in that so-called standard, it's an ethical standard. And they were saying it was avoid harm and respect privacy. So that's nailed it, right? So, but I think having notes on it is absolutely a good idea. Why not?
I mean, I think it's really tricky, and I think, I'm not sure disclosures. You kind of want to say, I want to know if someone didn't write this article, but, did they not write this sentence of this article? Did they use a thought starter? Like, what is the line, right? I think probably a lot of us have used it for a wedding speech or something that they've had to do, and you start with it's actually, to me, my wife and I did this for my sister-in-law's wedding. It gets you started. You go from a blank page to a filled out page, then you rewrite the thing 5 times, personalize it, and it doesn't feel anything like what you got out of ChatGPT, except for it was so much easier still because you got that. Well, where am I disclosing that or not, right? And what does that look like? And we all, well, I'm not a writer, some of you guys are great journalists, but I'm sure you read through stuff ahead of time that gave you thoughts of what you were going to write. And so is that any different than what ChatGPT is doing? Probably not that different. So I think it's hard because you kind of want to understand. I'd much prefer to know the disclosure. I'd like to know is what information sources did the AI use to generate their answer? That's more interesting to me, and I think probably more important than actually, whether it used AI to create it or not. It's like, where did this come from? What is the inference? That's what you want to know, because that gives you the understanding of the accuracy, the perspective that it's bringing to the table. But I don't actually see us going in that direction, but that would be, to me, the more ideal.
This is a pro-AI panel, but I have to, do not use AI for math. It cannot do math.
That would seem like the most truest thing it could do.
Yeah, do not leave your finances to AI.
Jody, it all comes from Bing. Come on.
I would just only add one other thing, which is, I believe it's Meta that is going to start labeling their content, right? So if you're not doing it and someone else is doing it for you, that could be problematic with the trust that you've established with your audience. So we are looking at how to do that now. But I think Jody brings up a good point is, where does that definition start? Right? Is it truly just automated content, or if it's augmented by an individual, is that still AI? Right? So
I mean, we joked in a roundtable yesterday, but I could easily see this happening. There's going to be an advertiser who says, I won't run on any publishers that use AI to create my content, but here's my AI-created ads that I'm going to have you run. So, it's everyone has a different perspective on where it comes in.
So, and I know we're up on our time, but I think it's so important, and you just hit on this. It was actually on one of my cards for you, is you're talking about Facebook and AI. And I think that maybe this audience should just hear a little bit more about that before we hop off the stage. So can you explain a little bit more about what your concerns are with Facebook and tagging your content?
So for us, let me preface this with, I am no meta expert by any means, so please go in, ask ChatGPT. Yeah, exactly. So from our perspective, it's a lot of our audience is on social. We convert a lot of customers through social, so we want to make sure that we understand exactly what they're going to tag as AI-created content. Right now, we don't do anything through social that's strictly AI, but it is something we'll look to do, because again, to Jody's point, this is all about creating efficiencies, so we will get there. And again, what's important is we don't want to put something out that then meta flags, and our audience is like, what the hell, guys? Why are you trying to deceive us, right? So get ahead of it is what we'll do.
Awesome. So if you guys find these guys around, by the way, I got to speak with them for an hour and a half before this. They have so many interesting use cases that they're dealing with AI, so definitely find them if you have questions about it. They're doing amazing things, so thank you guys for your time here today.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.